So, hello everyone. Here we are for the first live lesson of our discipline of creativity and innovation. And for this, I'm going to use the recorded lesson number 2 as a reference for us here. Because in that lesson, I talked about I mentioned something about the creative process, something that was designed by Graham Wallace. And today, I chose to talk a little bit more about the creative process because I believe that it deserves more explanation. Okay, so the creative process designed by Graham Wallace is on his book, The Art of Thought. This book, despite being written almost 9 decades ago, is still a great source of knowledge for many researchers of creativity, such as Christensen, for example, who is a very famous author related to the subjects of innovation and the management of innovation. So I would say that Wallace's motivation to write that book was to improve the act of thought based on a scientific explanation of the thinking. Okay, so the baseline assumption in Wallace's writings is that the creative process can be designed, can be delineated, and this led him to a four-stage description of the creative process. And I talked about those four stages in the recorded lesson number 2. That's why I'm using it as a reference, okay? So tell me, guys, do you remember what are the four stages of the creative process? I'll give some time to think, okay? All right. So they are preparation, incubation, illumination, and verification. So in the first stage, the preparation, your brain is like gathering information, because after all, the creative ideas they don't come from a vacuum, right? In the second stage, the incubation part, you have to let your mind wander and stretch your ideas. In the third stage, the illumination, is when you make connections between the ideas. And in the fourth stage, the verification, the creative ideas, they need to be polished by critical thinking in order to really reach their audience. So here, I would like to draw some attention to the incubation phase, the second phase, because in most of the subsequent studies that are based in Graham Wallace's four-stage model, the incubation is depicted as leading directly to illumination. However, Wallace devoted no less than 12 pages of his book, The Art of Thought, to the phenomenon that he calls the fringe consciousness. Well, he explains that the fringe consciousness is the intimation. So the intimation would be something that would link the incubation with the illumination. So if you have a close reading of the book Art of Thought, it reveals that the model had, in fact, five rather than four stages. And because he used a lot of his time to talk about this other step, the intimation, we can say that there are five. Okay, so the five steps of the creative process, according Graham Wallace, are number one, preparation, incubation, intimation, illumination, and verification. Okay, so what is this intimation about this new step that I'm saying here right now? It's basically like that. As I said, the preparation part, that is the first stage, is when you have to gather some information, some inputs about the problem that you're trying to solve, because everything starts with a problem. You have a problem and you want to solve the problem. So to be creative, you have first to prepare yourself. That is the preparation. You have to study, you have to read, you have to look up some things on the internet, for example. And get prepared. So those are the inputs, okay? And different inputs are also important. The second part, that is the incubation, is when you have to let your mind wander a little. You have to stop thinking about the problem, directly. Go play some sports or watch some TV series that you like very much. Let the problem sleep a little, because in this moment when you are not directly thinking about the problems, when your mind starts to make some connections. And the third step before that was the illumination, would be the revelation, the solution to the problem. But I'm saying here that there's another step before the illumination and after the incubation, the intimation. The intimation is when you suddenly start thinking about the problem again, and then you start to pay attention to some things that you were not paying attention before, and then you realize that something is almost solving the problem for you here inside, inside your mind. Is when the answer is on the tip of your in the tip of your tongue, for example. It's not ready yet, but you realize that it's getting ready. That's the intimation. And then you discover what you're thinking about. You find a solution. That's the eureka moment. That is the illumination, my friends. Okay. And then I go to the verification that I already talked about. That's when you have to verify your solution and see if it's applicable, in real life. Well, that's basically it. Uh, that's what I wanted to tell you today. The intimation, that is a new stage of the creative process. So now, don't think about the creative process as having four stages, but five stages. Okay. Once again, preparation, incubation, intimation. Okay, illumination, and verification. All right, my friends. Well, so that will be all for today. If you have any questions, any comments, or any criticism about today's class, you feel free to interact with me, be it here on YouTube or on the Google Classroom platform or anywhere else. Okay, you can send me an email, for example, no problem. I hope you enjoyed this lesson, this short lesson, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, bye. That's all for today.